G'day team, it's James Smith, aka the Tattooed Butcher, and we're here for another series of the Meat Workshop. Today we're going to be covering porchetta, which is one of my favourite barbecue cuts to do. We're going to be covering off the ingredients and everything you need to perfect it at home. Sweet guys, so we're going to get stuck in. All we need today is a New Zealand pork belly. This one's about 3 kilos. And when you're shopping in your local butcher shop or your supermarket, look out for those New Zealand pork stickers and support local pork farmers. Apart from that, we're going to need a nice sharp knife, and then we're going to cover off the ingredients that we use for our porchetta as soon as we've boned it out. So the first thing that we're going to do with our nice big piece of pork here is we're going to remove this piece of fat, make a light cut, not all the way through, and then we can basically put our finger under it and we can peel that off. Once we remove that, we need to remove our bone from our pork. So we just want to run the tip of the knife flat up against that bone. And you can see with my left hand, I'm just pulling it away as well. So when I work, I always like to pull, so I'm not working on top of myself. So we're going to follow that all the way down, basically to that little piece of cartilage bone just there. Now the easiest thing to do is actually flip this over. And we're basically going to, again, pull the meat from the bone, and we're just going to lightly cut. We want to point the tip of our knife against those pork ribs. Okay, see, I'm just peeling it off as I do this. Cool. Once we get to the bottom, we've basically got that off. We're going to flip it back over and just trim the last of that bone out. Sweet. So as far as prep goes and taking the bone out, that's our bone gone. Okay, so now we just want to touch it up, and we just want to take any heavy little bits of fat out. This is a nice even pork belly though, so we're not going to have too much issue rolling this one today. I'm basically just going to square. I like to make sure they're square, so remove that bit of pork. Nothing's going to waste either. We're going to use all this at a different date. So I say when we're butchering or doing anything at home, we want to keep a nice little Glad ready wrap bag, and we can put all our pork trim, our pork fat, and we can use it and mince it when we get enough. Cool. So as far as our porchetta goes, prep side, we're pretty much there. Last thing that I want to do is score the pork belly. So we flip it over, and we basically, if you don't have a sharp knife, you can use a craft knife, okay? And we want to make a nice little cut, okay? Light cuts, not cutting all the way through that skin. See, we're not actually cutting right deep into that pork, just doing nice light cuts. We're going to do this so that we can put our oil and our salt. That's going to soak in really nice and go really nice and crispy when we cook it. So we're also just going to put a few slits just in that pork belly as well, in the underside of it, just so it can soak up all the goodness that we're about to put inside of it. So for ingredients today, we're going to be using 1 lemon, some fresh coriander, some fresh basil. Again, we want about 4 or 5 cloves of garlic. We really like that garlic flavour in porchetta. Olive oil and salt and pepper. About a teaspoon of salt and about a teaspoon of salt and pepper, depending on how you like to season your pork. So once we've put all those really tasty ingredients inside our pork belly, now it's time to roll it up. If you guys don't know how to tie a butcher's knot, you don't have to worry too much. Head over to my YouTube channel and check out my other video. There's a tutorial on how to tie a butcher's knot. The last crucial piece to the puzzle is making sure that we get a nice crackling on our porchetta. So how we do this, we use a little bit of olive oil, rub it into the skin, and then we season it with salt. Ideally, you want to leave this in the fridge for a good few hours. That lets the skin kind of bubble up and really soak in all the oils and salts. So we're going to get stuck in, and then we're going to chuck it on the barbecue. Now that our pork belly's ready to go, we're ready to chuck it on our rotisserie and cook it over some hot coals. So now we're ready to put our porchetta on the barbecue. So for cook time and how we cook it, we're looking at about 1.5 hours, and we're only going to use a small amount of coals, okay? So when we put it on the barbecue, we want to make sure that we have a small amount of coals on one side and a small amount of coals on the other side. We're not cooking with direct heat, we're cooking with a low heat on either side. If we put too many coals or the coals are too hot, we're going to burn the porchetta straight away. Okay, so we're cooking for 1.5 hours to 2 hours really, for that internal temp of 75 degrees Celsius. Once it's reached that temperature, we can move the coals underneath the pork, and we can basically start to let that crackle really bubble and really go nice and crispy, which is what we're looking for. So once our pork belly's all cooked, it's nice and crispy on the outside, we're going to remove it, let it rest for 5 minutes, and now we're ready to slice and serve it. How good. Sweet guys, so that's my version of porchetta. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you guys follow the rest of the meat workshop on my YouTube channel and check out my website for more recipes.